Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a recap of the US Open and US Open Invitationals. I'm WGM Sabina Foisor, your host for today and for the duration of the US Open, and very excited to be back this morning. I wanted to take a moment and look back at the invitationals, particularly at the final round, because that was the round that decided the champions, the winners in every single invitational tournament. And without further ado, let's get into the action. So, in the Irwin, on board one, Grandmaster Alexander Fishbein ended up drawing his game against Robbie Adamson. In this position, the players have repeated with bishop f2, queen h6, bishop e3, queen h4, and that at the moment when this happened allowed Grandmaster Fishbein to at least share first. Now, going on to the next game, which was very, very important, of course, for the standings, was board 2, the game between International Master Stuart Rachels and FIDE Master Gregory Markstone. That was an important game for the standings because had International Master Stuart Rachels won his game, then he would have been able to share first with Grandmaster Fishbein. He was able to do so, but let's see how that actually happened. White started with e4 and Black chose the French. And they played the Tarrasch variation, bishop e7, knight f3, knight f6, bishop d3, takes. And now it just seems like we're back to some other variation, right, when we have the knight in c3. It's actually quite interesting that in some lines, developing the knight in c3 or d2 does not matter, but in some it does. So actually there is a difference between the two. And if you happen to be a French player, you probably are aware of other lines that Black can adopt, like for example against knight c3 there's bishop e4 or there's c5 as well. So in this position, Black followed the natural development response, knight b to d7, White recaptured in f6, and it is in this position that White decided to go for the move queen e2. So typically we would see castle here for White, just making sure that the development on the king side is complete. And after castling, White can even go knight e5 now that there's no knight in d7 to stop it. e5 is usually a great outpost for the knight in these kind of pawn structures when the d and e pawns have been traded, whether it is a French or a Caro-Kann. But it certainly looks much nicer in a French because this bishop in c8 is restricted, and with a knight in e5, White actually restricts Black from developing that bishop with b6. So Black would have to attack the center with c5, and we would have a completely different pawn structure than what we had in the game. International Master Rachels decided to actually go for queen to e2. This move is a bit more flexible for White and gives him more opportunities to still castle short, but maybe consider long castling, depending also on what Black chooses. a6 was played, bishop d2. You may think bishop g5 is more natural, and I would agree with you. You're going a bit more active, more aggressive, but sometimes people are trying to avoid that move because of knight d5 and they don't want to trade the bishop. Considering that White is the one who has more center, it makes a bit more sense to keep the pawn. There are more pieces on the board. So bishop d2, b6, and this was the decisive moment where International Master Rachel was like, I'm going for long castle. It's important for me to win, to catch up potentially with the leader. At the time, they didn't know what was going to happen. So he actually just castled here, bishop b7, king b1, queen d6, and in this position, he went for the aggressive move, knight e5. So as I mentioned earlier, that is a nice outpost for the knight, but we don't always necessarily want to put the knight there in some situations. we may want to wait. In this case, white hasn't completely brought the final piece into the game. So personally, I would consider rook h2 d1, a3, one of those moves. But what do I know? This is actually kind of more cool, and it kind of invites this move queen takes d4. And though the move is normally what I would not recommend to do, there's nothing super concrete that for white to really say that they're going to win something. So if you don't see it, you might as well just play it. White can try to prep things just a bit longer with rook e1, but white played the move bishop h6. This opens up the rook and threatens bishop e5. Black has to move the queen away, and white immediately regains the pawn that they gave away. Rook g8 forces the bishop to capture, and now bishop takes h7. Now in this position, maybe black could have attempted this idea, queen takes e5, and after the recapture, bishop takes g8, and now black can either take in g2 or first play king e7 in between move, chasing the bishop away and now recapturing. And actually this is quite a complicated position because this pawn eventually will fall for white, and I think black is is with the bishop pair, they should be holding on quite all right. But it is difficult to make those decisions when you're playing a tournament, when you're playing a game, you're down material. The first thing in mind is always to try to get the pawn back. And black did take it indeed, and now there's a kind of a gorgeous idea that maybe was missed by black, or maybe they didn't think it was that big of a deal. But the idea is to take advantage of these badly played pieces, and white went on for knight to d7. With a knight here, of course, we're forking those two pieces and asking you a question: what do you do, the queen? Where do you go to keep your bishop protected? In the game, black decided to play queen f2 and trade queens. Queen e7 actually would have led to some interesting situations here. So notice there's a lot of pieces on the a8 h1 diagonal, and the natural move for white here is to go bishop e4 and kind of ask black a question. The knight in d7 is protected. We can take in f6 anytime. How about you tell me what is it that you're going to do against this fork? Obviously you cannot take, because after queen takes e4, it is game over. And it's kind of surprising that black has only one move here. I don't know if you can find it or not. You can certainly try. It took me a while yesterday in the analysis to do it, but look at this gorgeous idea. Bishop takes b2. Yes, black has the rook and the bishop attacked, and guess what? They don't care. They are taking the pawn in b2 with ideas of returning with the queen to b4 and actually having some mating threats. And obviously if white recaptures, there's gonna be a few checks, and probably white may find its way out of these checks at some point eventually, maybe something like this. But the position is certainly quite complicated and definitely worth a thought, worth like a little bit of scare for white, I would say, in this position. But like I said, the game continued. Queen takes f2, queen c4, castle. And now after bishop e4, white does the same thing as before. The threat is not as powerful, but there isn't so much that black can do to really untangle himself. If he captures in d7, he's just going to lose some material here. Rook g1, we can return with the rook to d1. Maybe that is the move he should have played after all. But after b5, what happened was bishop takes b7, king takes check, and after c6, white finally brought the last piece into the game with tempo. The queen moved, and after rook takes f6, black resigned. Going on to kind of finish off with the Irwin, because there were a couple more interesting moments. There was this really nice moment in the game between Grandmaster Melik Kachan and Cornelius Rubsamen. It was somewhere around this moment after Queen A6, Bishop C6. This is just for tactical purposes. It did not impact that much the standings, but it's white to move. What move would you play in order to be able to convert this position? That's the real question. Black may threaten some d3 and try to kind of activate his pieces to take advantage of white's king. Obviously, black's king is in trouble with a rook, queen, rook from 7th rank. But what to do next? I hope you found it. The move was bishop a3. Grandmaster Kachan did not do that. He ended up taking the knight e7, and still the position is winning, but it seems a little bit more I think it's a bit nicer to play this move. Even if black moves there, we can take, and then we can take, and if the queen moves over here, it can be scary. I will give you that. It can certainly be scary because b2 is hanging, but we do have the move bishop f3, which covers the mate, and now that knight will be captured with the rook, and it will be game over. Another tactic that happened was actually in the following position. After struggling and defending against black's attack on the queen side, white in this position ended up playing the move rook to d2. Seems like a natural approach to cover the threat, but unfortunately this allows for a very nice tactical idea. Try to see if you can find it. The answer was queen takes e3. I think it's relatively cute. Obviously, if you recapture, we're going to checkmate white's king in the middle of the board with the knight out of all pieces. Knight e5 checkmate. After queen takes e3, black is of course winning, but white can still survive after king b1. The game continues a few more moments, but after rook f1, the final blunder, queen d3, white resigned. So this kind of concluded the recap of the Irwin. It was certainly a really great tournament for Grandmaster Fishbein, as well as International Master Stuart Rachels. And just to kind of remind everyone, the standings page, this is what we have. So we had Grandmaster Alexander Fishbein and International Master Stuart Rachels finishing on shared first with 5 points out of 6. And then we had 4 players sharing third place in FIDE Master Robbie Adamson, International Masters Timothy Taylor and Alexander Matrosh, and Grandmaster Melik Kachan. All of them finished with 4.5. It was a very hard fought tournament. I gotta say, I was particularly pleased with the fact that with the way things went in this particular tournament. There is this stereotype that as we're getting older, we're getting more draws. That was not the case in this tournament, and I think we can all be proud of that because, I mean, you know, let's break stereotypes. We're here to break all stereotypes, and lots of attacking chess, positional attacking, but also more dynamic, involving initiatives and such, and really enjoyed it. Now, if we go on to the next tournament, which was, at least the way I had the games shown on chess.com, we're gonna go to the Denker. So in the Denker, Bach and Guo was leading the tournament for quite a bit of time, and he was on you know, 4.5. He drew his final round, finishing on 5 points, and for quite a bit of time he was the sole leader or the sole first person in the tournament. However, up until the last moment, it seemed that that's how things would go. But things changed as International Master Liam Putnam, was able to come back. And I say come back because actually it was a super hard fought game by both him for the black pieces and Steve Wongso. And I felt for Steve because they played for a really long time. Look at this. If I go back to actually the moment where things started changing, they had a queen endgame. And queen endgames have a lot of chances to be drawn with a lot of perpetual ideas, but of course you have to be mindful for tactical ideas too. And basically, I mean, both players have played really, really well for a long time. Pawns got traded off the board. Queen c6 attempted to trade the queens, trick his opponent to capture so that he could win the king and pawn endgame. Queen c5 was played, asking for the same thing, but of course neither one of the players traded the queens. And now as the game went on, I thought we are going to see a perpetual. Personally, I would consider, just going back and forth. But Liam did try to somehow find a way to outplay his opponent. He's the one who's up a pawn, and although his pawn is not that advanced, he still has some ability to find a way to push it forward. White decided to make the trade relatively fast, but going into this 3 versus 2 queen endgame, it should be a draw. We just need to be mindful about not trading the queens in a wrong situation, leading into a lost king and pawn endgame. And Steve played super well up until point where around here traded even here, which is very important. The more pawns you trade, the better you are. I thought black might try this and find a way to trade the queens, because this king and pawn endgame, if we get the queens off the board with the king infiltrating, black would be winning. But black decided to take like this to have the ability to bring in his king this way. But now after queen d6, queen f6 was played. And this was kind of a heartbreaking moment, I'd say. Queen f6 does seem like the move to play because you want to keep the pawn attacked. And you think, okay, after that you give check in h8, check from behind, and there's nothing that the king can do. Unfortunately, that was the turning point of the game that allowed Liam to be able to convert this endgame. Queen d1 check is an interesting move here, though it could be a bit scary after g4. Having to just always be on the look that you never lose this pawn. But also like not queen d3, sorry. Queen c5 also would allow some checks and help the position out, and king g2 also allows some checks, entering with the queen, and then the king enters. So queen d1 was one approach, and I think queen e6, if I not queen e6, there was one more idea that was a bit unusual. Queen e5. Queen e5 keeps the pawn attacked and also controls g3 and also has that check. Keeping the queen central in general is the right approach for queen endgames. And now, okay, black can give a couple of checks, but the king won't be able to enter, because after this move we have this cute little idea: queen h8 check, king g3, and now queen h4. There comes the cute stalemate. For me, everything is cute, so pawn takes stalemate. If the king takes stalemate, if you move away, we take the pawn, and now it's queen pawn versus queen pawn. So this queen e5, very important centralization move, would have saved Steve at least for a few more moves, unless, you know, of course, there's always a chance to make a mistake, but this could have been the move. Queen f6 sounds or looks very similar, still on the diagonal, still attacking the pawn, but just this nuance, the fact that the queen is there, actually helps stop black from giving a few checks. So what happened here compared to the queen e5 move, there were a few checks, and now black's king enters, and queen e6, if you take the pawn, black will have the ability to give a few checks to trade off the queens. For example, king g2 or king h2, queen g3, and now regardless of where you go, queen takes h3, trades the queens, and wins the king and pawn game. And a few moves later, the players, white had to resign because that pawn was lost too, and now keeping both pawns in the game, not allowing any kind of stalemate, led to black's victory. So this was quite important for the standings, as Liam caught up with Bach and Go and shared first place. It was Bach that technically finished in first because they had the scholarships. So based on the tie break, they actually used tie breaks in order to determine who would get the scholarship. And it was Bach that finished first, but still finishing shared second is certainly an important achievement for him, and heartfelt, like feeling bad for Steve, who fought really hard for so many moves and unfortunately had to accept defeat by playing the move queen to f6. Another game that was relatively important for the standings was this game between Avi Kaplan and Vishnu Vanapalli. What's interesting about this matchup is that Avi was the co-champion in the Danker last year, and probably, you know, with a lot of pressure going into the final round, trying to do something similar. Both players were on 3.5. They're trying to find a way to win this and share second, or actually share third place would have been really, really important. Unfortunately for Avi, things didn't go the way he was hoping, and in a relatively equal position where the player did repeat a couple of times, rook a2, knight b4, rook a3, knight c2, Vishnu decided to make things complicated for a bit without giving too much to the opponent. And this is kind of a nice approach that you may want to have when needing to win a game, but you don't want to super go crazy. So a rook takes c3 was played, and the idea is after queen takes, knight takes d4, black gets a little bit of activity with opening up that bishop and kind of destroying white's chain of pawns and maybe being able to win one of those pawns. In this position, the most natural move for white would have been knight takes, and if the queens get traded off, bishop takes, any b6 is going to lead to a lot of trades and probably, you know, a draw. Black only has one pawn for the exchange, but without weaknesses, it's very difficult to envision any kind of potential win. Unfortunately for him, Avi ended up playing this move rook to a1, feeling that now he's got his chance to convert the game. His opponent gave up an exchange, he's going to activate the rook, and probably only thought that his opponent is going to play queen b3, he was gonna trade or not trade, have rook a, actually rook a8 just wins this and then take the knight, and he thought he's probably, I do not know, that he was going to win. Unfortunately, rook a1 is a huge blunder because he misses the opening of the diagonal. Now obviously knight f3 or knight e2 here do not lead too much because black's queen in a4 is attacked. So if you go knight f3, you can simply take it with the queen, and he probably thought this is not a big deal, although this could be an issue too after bishop takes. but definitely not 92, because 92 we can just capture and this rook is super protected, so we're not worried. But what happened in the game is queen takes a1, and this is such a gorgeous move, sacking the queen temporarily only to regain it with knight f3 later. Queen takes, if knight takes, same thing would have happened. Knight f3, actually knight e2 is better, because knight f3, queen takes f3, knight e2, and then the queen would fall. And after queen takes, this is what happened. Now black is up a pawn with a bit more simple play. It wasn't easy, but Vishnu was able to convert this in the end. And now with that weakness in c6, that pawn fell shortly as well, and black went on to win, letting him share third place in the section. So this was certainly a very hard fought section, similar to Irwin, I would say. But let's take a look at the final standings so you guys have an idea of how things ended up. Oopsie. All right, here it is. So International Master Bahengo and Liam, International Master Liam Putnam finished on first, shared first, with Bach winning a $5,000 scholarship for college, while Liam a $4,000 scholarship. Vishnu, after winning that game, caught up with FIDE Master Isaac Wang, and also Eric Liu. So the three of them finished on 4.5 and got the remaining of the scholarships. So congratulations to all of them. Really hard fought games, tough for some of those people, you know, that I showed losses in the final round, but unfortunately this is chess. This is chess. Sometimes more heartbreaking than other times. So yeah, what to do? We have to take our losses and learn from them, understand the mistakes, and then be ready to come back even stronger next time. Going on to the next section, the herring. That was a very interesting tournament, lots of talents there. I'm looking forward to seeing many of those girls compete in the US Championship very soon and represent the US in Olympics and team championships. So on board one, the top two players, FIDE Master Megan Paragua and Women's International Master Omiya Vidarti, played a relatively equal Queen's Gambit declined line that led to an endgame, and they agreed on a draw within the first 10-15 minutes of the game start. The two players were sharing first together with another player who was playing in the on board 2, and that was Women FIDE Master Irene Fay. So basically what happened is they probably were looking at the I do not know, but there is a possibility, if this happens to be something you do, you want to be mindful about it, because you never know. Of course, both of them are very strong, and maybe they were tired and they decided to accept a draw and have guaranteed at least second place shared. But what happened is Irene was playing against a stronger on paper player, Kanim Ismailova, and Kanim has actually had some very nice games. She was live a couple of times. She even had a Greek gift that we saw in another round. Very attacking player. And going into this position, white is certainly much better. So for most of the game, actually, Irene was defending as much as she could. in order to kind of still maintain her chances alive, because she was in the same number of points as Megan and Omia. So um, if she had won, with them having drawn their round, she would have finished first. But pressure on, you know, playing a stronger player with the black pieces, you need to come up with something. So first off, when you play with black, you defend first and you see what comes out after. And this position, it's already a difficult position for black. White's pawn structure is superior, and this pawn can slowly be pushed forward. So what happened is that in this position, black played the move c3. This gives white a relatively huge advantage. Knight h4 could have complicated matters a bit and try to stay a bit annoying, putting pressure in f4, maybe repeating the position and getting the draw was the right approach. We need to be objective. Even if we want to win, we know we have more chances. We always have to stay objective to the position that's given to us. That's something very important for everyone to remember. So she played c3, and Kanim played really nicely the next few moves. She went for rook d1, bringing an inactive piece, creating some activity, getting ready to bring it on the 6th rank. Irene played rook b7, and now rook d6, very strong, rook b1, knight d3. So these last 3 moves of white's were really perfectly placed, blocking the passed pawn, defending the piece that blocks it. Normally, of course, you want a knight to block it, but in this case, the knight does a better job to the side because it also can help support. The e pawn to go forward, this pawn in a6 is weak and is about to be lost. So white is definitely looked like was in the way to win this. After knight e7, rook takes, a few moves later, it seemed that white was going to be the one winning this game, and the natural way to do so is they're checking first, going e4, pushing the knight away, and starting to push the protected passed pawn forward. But as you notice the time here, the player with the white pieces, women's candidate Master Kanim Ismailova, probably panicked, saw that king kind of staying on some mate, realized that she could play f5, bring the bishop, bring the rook, and mate it. And she focused on that idea instead of improving her position. And it's easy to do that, especially if you're an attacking player, which from the way I've seen her play, it seems that she is. So she ended up playing this move bishop a3, and now after c2, suddenly black is getting a bit of counterplay because the bishop went away from there, the pawn advanced. Now we also have ideas with knight c3, knight a2 in case you go back to c1. And white continued to go for the idea that she had previously with rook a8 to go rook f8 and such, but there's nothing actually that's gonna happen there, because after check, king g6, you can give one more check, but that's about it. There won't be checks left, and black's king has advanced. We'll have h5 ideas to trade pawns, and black is okay. And thankfully for her, that is for black, white played the move rook c8. This seems more like a waste of time, because although that move just is only against bishop takes a5 to take the pawn, or at least have the rook to be able to take the pawn. Here maybe even rook c5 can work, or maybe not. But anyways, it's just, it doesn't do as much. And also, when black played the move c2, they had a threat, which white clearly missed. The correct move in this position for black is rook b3. Since white has no threats, we are going to win the piece. And from here on, Irene is taking control of the game, and she did not let it go until she was able to convert this position. Look at that. She won the other piece. Now all she has to do is move the rook away and promote. And that's exactly what she did, which brought her the title of winning the uh, herring, along with a $5 scholarship to her favorite college once she gets to the age to do so. So let's check out the standings for this competition as well. So, Women's FIDE Master Irene Fay, sole winner of the herring with 5.5 points, followed by FIDE Master Megan Paragua and Nomiya Vidarti with 5 points. And then we had Shenyang Yang and Rebecca Cortez. Both of them have played really well. I've seen their recent, like, last wins, very well played. And those were the top 5 players. I mean, it was definitely a great event to follow, and I certainly hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Now let's move on to a section that seemed to be totally one-sided in a way. It wasn't quite, but it looked like it was just one-sided, with only one player winning the competition with 5.5 points, followed by someone with 5, and 2 other players with 4.5. We'll see them in just a moment, but let's get started with the important moment here. So it was Siddharth Singh who won the tournament with 5.5 points, and I was pleasantly surprised and amazed at how he was able to outplay his opponent from a relatively just a bit better position. So here, as we're looking at the pawn structure, we realize white has a few weaknesses, like the pawn in e5, this one in g4. There's a bit of pressure. Black also happens to have the bishop pair, which is always a plus. We want to have the bishop pair whenever we can. But yeah, that's about all we can say about the position. It doesn't seem much, and black doesn't seem to have breaks to be able to bring his king in or bring the knight in. But take a look at how Siddharth was able to outplay his opponent. So he brought in his king first a little bit. Now b5. At some point he does want to play b4, and he's recycling his bishop potentially to c7. At least it looks like he might. White just decided to stay, feeling that they have created a weak fortress. But as soon as rook e1 is played, black is ready to break through. d4 was the way to do that. And now after d4, rook e4 takes. He plays d3. So he's created his protected pass pawn. Brilliant. Bishop b8. And now for the nice finish. Probably he could have had a slightly better way to finish the game, but look at those pass pawns protected. Another pawn fell, and he didn't take, of course. Extra piece, and from here on it's just a matter of technique. So that is how Siddharth was able to win that game. I was a bit heartbroken by Oscar because I have seen him in a camp not long ago. This was the position that Oscar had against Andrew Wu. Andrew, who happened to have finished, I believe he was second in the section with 5 points. And basically in this position is kind of interesting, because it seems that white should be winning extra piece, right? Well, if you're careful with black, you're actually going to be able to hold this, but you need to make sure your f7 pawn is well protected, so that, of course, you don't lose it. So of course black protects it, but it's actually going to be a bit easier to protect it from the f file. So if you go rook a1 to go rook f1, and then maybe even like hold on to the rook somewhere on the f file, you should be fine to hold on. You don't need to do anything else. Just bring the rook there to avoid being allowing this king to go to f6, and then just sit with the king or with the rook. Unfortunately, Oscar ended up playing h4. I don't know what he was thinking. Maybe he thought he needed to get rid of the pawn before bringing the rook. But the thing is that now, after rook takes f7, this king and pawn endgame is lost. For those of you who are struggling with king and pawn endgames, just remember, as soon as the king enters on the rank of the pawn, and there's no way you can stop it, then we're going to zigzag our way into grabbing the pawn, and there's literally nothing you can do about it. So Andrew was able to win this and finish in second. Let's look at the standings for the barber as well. So we had Siddharth Singh from Texas, Andrew with 5.5, winning a $5,000 scholarship to the college of his choice. Carl Schwang with 5 points. Then we had John Abraham and Carl Schwang and John Abraham with 4.5. And lastly, Bobby Kian, who had the best tiebreak to finish in 5th. There were quite a few other players with 4 points, but it was Bobby Kian who finished in, who won the $1,000 remaining scholarship. And hi everyone, thank you so much for stopping by and watching. I hope you're enjoying the recaps for now for the invitationals. I want to make sure that we check with everything that's happened in the Irwin, congratulate the winners and such. Do you ever read 300 most important chess positions? Do I ever read it? I don't think I read that book. Why? Am I missing something? Was I supposed to know something that I do not know? All right, and lastly, in the Rockefeller, such an important final round for many, actually. So the highest rated player in the Rockefeller was, of course, Ling Shizhu. He was the highest rated 23-3, and then we had Ted Dweck. Those were the two players whose games I mostly followed because they were live, because we only had 2 live games in that section. Now, Ted has had a great tournament, played relatively well, but he had tough final round. Had he won in his final round, he would have finished sole first with 5.5 points. He was the only one who could do so. He was half a point ahead of the field. But he had a really tough game against Sean Xu. His opponent played really well, kind of having a slightly better position throughout. And as Ted ended up drawing, a few other people caught up with him and ended up finishing on 5 points. In fact, there were 4 players with 5 points that shared the Rockefeller. The most, I don't want to say unexpected, but it was relatively unexpected, was the Ling Shizhu. Ling Shi has had an up and down game against Harvey Hanke. He's played relatively well and then got into this position, which should be winning for white. Definitely, the pawns are worth more than the knight that white is down, right? White has 4 pawns for the knight, and it should be more than enough to win the game. In addition, this pawn is really advanced and can have its way to be promoted soon. But of course, you have to be careful. So here, Lingxi went for bishop f7, queen f5 check, brought in the h pawn in order to be able to support some h6. And in this position, he had to be super careful because after queen c4, black is trying to create his counterplays. He's tied down with the rook to stop the d pawn from pushing and also keeping the knight protected, but the queen is trying to find its way to some perpetual check. Obviously, queen e2 is in the horizon. So in order for white to really stop that, the best thing to do was to play the move queen to d3. By doing so, white trades the queens and then wants to play d7, and there isn't so much you can do to stop it. Now, Lingxi actually messed up. He played the move king to h3. So king to h3 actually allows black to get a bit of activity. Rook f8, very well played by Harvey, pushing the queen away, and now queen f1, giving a couple of checks. There's no escape for white's king. It seems like there is, but there isn't. Obviously, if you go queen here check, then the king would go back and it's escaped a bit. So we don't have follow-up checks, but that's okay. We can play this move queen e3, which actually puts pressure in g3, and it allows black to have relatively good chances for a draw. King h4, queen e2, rook b7. Now this is the most important moment of the game that could have changed the situation around. So when faced with a very serious mating threat, or in general, when we're faced with a threat that we don't have physically a way to stop it, the most natural responses to such situations are to consider all checks and captures, pretty much forcing moves that are really forcing, or else you're gonna get mated. And black has indeed some of those, but if he misses, he doesn't choose the right one, he's going to be in big trouble. Unfortunately for Harvey, he chose the wrong one, and white was able to escape the perpetual. So if you're looking at this position, take a moment and try to figure out what is the correct way for black to save the game. Here, black played the move queen h2. That unfortunately was a mistake, because black does not have checks forever. After king g5, queen b5 check, as I showed you earlier, but now there's a threat of mate, and we cannot move the queen anywhere we want to continue with the checks. We can only go here to defend, but now after d7, queen e6 check, black loses the knight. Now white is up ginormous amount of pawns, and there's no perpetual check. Going back to that position, there was a beautiful way for black to save himself, and that way was rook takes f. After pawn takes, now we start with the checks, and white does not have any escape route. We're not going to go for the rook, we're going to go for the perpetual, and that could have been a completely different story in the Rockefeller. Just reviewing the standings now. So we had 4 players, as I mentioned, who shared first place with 5 points. Those were FIDE Masters, Lingxi Zhu and Ted Wang, Ayapan Santosh, and Women's FIDE Master Amy Yang. All of these players win a prize, as well as a scholarship to the college of their choice. And then there was one more scholarship for Sean Xu, the next player, with 4.5. Aiden Lee finished in 6th, still shared with 4.5, but unfortunately, due to tiebreak, ends up finishing out of scholarship money. So that was it. That was the recap of the invitationals. I want to take a moment to congratulate once again all of the winners, they brought amazing enterprising chess. Every single one of the players in the tournament that I watched, there weren't easy games, a very little amount of draws, which is always something I personally enjoyed as a commentator because I have more interesting games to comment on. I know some people may prefer some draws so that they maybe do a bit less commentary, but I'm happy. I'm here to take on all creative chess. Just bring it to me and I'll be ready to comment on it. So once again, I just want to congratulate. Let's review the winners of this year's invitationals. We had co-winners in the Irwin, Grandmaster Alexander Fishbein and Stuart Rachels. In the Denker, we had again co-winners, International Masters Ingo Bach and Liam Putnam. Congratulations to both of them as well. In the Barber, sole winner Siddharth Singh with 5.5 points, the highest amount of points in this tournament, along with the Lioness. The players fought her way through and came back from, can I say from the dead? I don't know. She was definitely struggling in the final round and was able to outplay her opponent and wins the tournament with 5.5 as well. That was the Herring. And lastly, in the Rockefeller, the 4 winners. So thank you for having me here to comment on these, and congratulations to all of these guys. All right, now that that part is done, we're gonna do something else that's fun. Can I try a game? I'm actually not playing, I'm doing commentary, Abu. Sorry about that, maybe another time. So now what I want to do is, as you guys know, I've been focused on the invitationals pretty much the whole time, this entire week that we had. I've been focusing on their games and such. But now I want to catch up with the Open. As you all may know, there are 3 different sections for the US Open. This is the first year that they don't have a 9 day section. It's only a 7 day, so the players at some point play the double round. So there's a 7 day, a 5 day, and a 4 day schedule. And we need to catch up to see what those players have done, because tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time, I'll be going live to comment on round 7, where all of these sections get merged together, and we'll get to start calling on the action for the highly coveted spot for the US Championship later this year. So actually, I shouldn't have changed the scene. Let's take a look at who was playing in each section, if we still have the schedule. Yes, we still have it, so we can see exactly who was playing in each section, how they are doing, and then we can actually catch up with some of the rounds that were live that I didn't really cover in my commentary. So in the traditional section, we had 6 grandmasters, and it looks like one of them actually has dropped half a point, or more than half, 1.5 points. Wow, that's a bit much. But 5 players. So we have Josh Friedel with 6 out of 6. Wow, that's impressive. Whom did he win against? He won against Zhuzhan Chao. Oh, that's definitely a game we have to catch up with. Varakobian is also on 6 out of 6. That's pretty impressive too. He won against Mikhail Antipov. That's impressive as well. Wow. Those games are definitely super impressive. We should definitely check them out. And then one player, Harsha Baratakoti, he's actually not representing US, so he's not eligible to qualify for the US Championship. And then, of course, Grandmaster Mikhail Antipov and Zhuzhan Chao with 5 points. Quite a lot of other players with 5 points. Okay, going on to the 5-day schedule, there was only one international master, and looks like he's on 5 out of 5. They actually probably are playing right now. This morning they started about maybe an hour ago. They're around, so only one international master coming in from the 5 day schedule, and the 4 day schedule was the toughest one. And looks like we only have 3 players with 4 points. Grandmaster Andrew Hong, Darius Schwartz, Victor Madvishin. I believe Victor is not eligible, neither is Rangui Tanguar. Wait, what happened to... What happened to Daniel Naroditsky? Oh, he lost. Oh, wow, he lost a game and it was not live, so we won't be able to see it. Hi, book move. Oh, okay. Now I'm catching up with everything. I took a bit of time to relax. Um, why does it show Grandmaster Fishbine without his title here? There's another titled Grandmaster here. And isn't Aaron Deepak a FIDE master? Okay. Some of those are not updated. They should be. Well. This is gonna be an interesting round 7. I'm looking forward to it. I'm definitely looking forward to it. This is gonna be like this is a pretty short stream to catch up with things, but yeah. Okay. I didn't realize Darius was playing. Must have missed. Okay. Wow. Okay. Let's look at the games. Let's look at the games. Let's see what we got. Let's see what we got here. I didn't see the games, so you guys maybe have seen them already last night. I tried to relax a bit, as many of you may or may not know. I'm still recovering from laryngitis and bronchitis. My voice, yeah, some titles are missing. I'm sure they'll be updated once the standings get updated with the merger. Yeah, so I'm recovering. And Grandmaster Fishbine is playing the tournament too. That's impressive. He just he's he's playing back to back. That's amazing. We only have the 7 day schedule though. I don't think the other one got updated. I'm just gonna refresh just in case to see, but I believe we only have the 7 days. So tonight, I'm certainly hoping that we'll have about 30 games, or at least 20 games on the DGT to look at. But we'll be looking mostly at the top Grandmaster ones. But if there's some of your friends playing, like maybe you can let me know. We can check those games out, and see how's everyone doing, by the way. Okay, we need to catch up with this game. I mean, this is huge. VAR won with the black pieces against Antipov. I mean, I need to see that. Okay. One second. All right. So the winner, okay, takes. All right, bishop d3. This is all theory. Not the most expected one, but I lost once a pawn like this, but I was playing the Petrov. Okay, g6. I wonder if this is still theory. I don't think it is, but the bar is feeling that black has sufficient compensation, probably because it messes up its pawns here. Queen d7. And now white's I feel like my voice suddenly went um what's queen h3. Well, yeah, because now after castle, black is threatening to trap the queen. Queen trap. But now I'm liking black's position. I mean, look at white's pawn structures, like terrible teeth. This is not the kind of pawn structure you want to get. And now black is starting to take advantage of those pawns. And I gotta say, is that time correct? Yeah, I gotta say, I've seen VAR play in a lot of tournaments. This is not the amount of time you see that versus this. VAR is usually in time trouble, so quite impressive. He's done quite well. That must be some kind of prep that he had, I believe. Yeah, black starts to have a much more comfortable position now because the knight is hanging. So 95 was played. Interesting. But what to do? You're trying to trade, but how to trade? I don't think white has time for stuff like that. Actually, I have an idea. Rook g1, rook g3. But okay, knight f5. Maybe we... Ouch! 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 Sorry. But I do like knight rook g1. Okay, we cannot take the pawn. He wants to take it f3. Sad. I wish I could just play here and whatever, take my rook, but no, we can't. I cannot do that. Yeah, this is. Oh no, sorry, that was my line. I thought that's how they played. So 95 was played. Yeah, but now he loses that pawn. He takes f7, but I don't know. So they repeated a couple of times, and VAR was like, no, no draw. I have a better position here. Defense. You see what happened is white remained with these bad pawns here, and black will probably create some passed pawn on the queen side. Is the knight? This is so terrible. Wow. Vars played a brilliant game. He totally outplayed his opponent, basically. Like, bad pawn structure, and then it was... He just improved every step of the way. That's why you have to be mindful with your pawn structure. Don't allow that many... I'm not even sure this whole idea with queen g7, how good it was. Maybe even queen h5, you know? Like, you think you create some weaknesses, but in the end, look what happened. White moved the queen way too many times. This is the kind of game that you enjoy after you watched it a couple of times. So you're looking backwards and you're like, oh yeah, that's because there was not really any kind of blunder that happened, you know. It was just normal moves, and then the queen was trapped and he just outplayed. Var, in my opinion, was a bit of a more of an attacking player, but he certainly played quite well this game. And how did Josh beat Grandmaster Zhuzhen Chao? Okay, exchange variation of the QGD. Let's see. Bishop d3, castle, knight e2, h3. Yeah, I noticed more people playing h3 these days, not queen c2 anymore. Usually you play queen c2 when you're stopping the bishop from going to f5, but these days, like, this bishop g4 can get annoying, especially on this move order, since you cannot play f3, right, because the pawn is hanging. So I've noticed people are playing this, and now you also have ideas with g4. I don't know if it happened or not, but you do. So now queen c2. a5, by the way, is played to stop the minority attack ideas. And that's idea 2. Okay. Yeah, I mean, if a5 is played and you're not gonna go for long castle. I've played this kind of game myself. Wow, this is really nice. This was really nice. Now after knight here, we want to go back for e4, and now the black messed up his pawn structure. The endgame is great for white. So there's no way to cover h6. Once h6 falls, now he's up a pawn, and just needs to start. And the knight is better than the bishop. Very nice. Nice game. Grandmaster Harsha has won against Anjanea Rao. So we have a similar pawn structure, just that now white doesn't have the dark square bishop. So whenever you play b5, like, typically I've seen people play b5 after white has played b4, right? Because white normally goes for b4, a4 to do the minority attack. And black plays b5 after white played, so let's just, like, play some random move here. Or whatever. Let's just do it like this. The point is for black to bring the knight there, right? That's basically what the point is. Obviously, after b4, you can just take the pawn. So he did not touch the queen side at all. Ah, okay. Because as long as the bishop is there, there's no c5. And with the center close, you can't afford to go g4. Did he go g5 too? Yeah, the knight probably has to be captured. One of the knights has to, otherwise g6. Interesting. So what about this would also not be good. I wonder what would have been maybe king h8 or something. It's interesting. This is usually the kind of move you want to play when someone plays g5, because g5 like is trying to open up the file and you're trying to close it because you go h5 g6. But guess what? Now it's white's turn and white gets g6 first. That's why that's not so good. And now you have to allow the entrance. After f6, the queen just comes in. No, that can't be good. Yeah. Okay. No, now you're just dead. Exchange up and white went on to it. Nice. And this game was a drawn. And that's a pretty good result for white to draw this game against the Grandmaster. 4 knights. Usually people play like queen c7 or f5 here. I'm not familiar with this 5 move yet. Because a c4, I thought. Yeah, so now you cannot take because of c4. Interesting, so he sacked the exchange in order to try to get some activity. Because the rook in f2 is badly placed. That makes sense. But the rook in e8 is also not doing so great. Look at how black is trying to slowly improve. He needs to move the bishop to push d5. Oh, white just gave back the exchange. That's how they got into that opposite color bishop. And now with the rooks traded, there's not much to do with black. Let's just look at this endgame. Seems interesting. Huge deflection. Didn't work. He tried. I don't know. Is this endgame really winning for white? I feel like black needs to come with the king to e5 to grab this pawn as fast as possible. Oh. Oh, no, 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 you cannot allow that. He probably thought that after this, he's going to go c4, bishop d5, and he's going to create a fortress, but that just kills your bishop, and white has plenty of entrances on the dark squares. Do not do that. No, no, no. No, you cannot afford to allow, because this pawn, if you block it on white, I mean, you block it with the king, you can attack it with the king and the bishop. You know, if you don't, then you won't be able to take it. Yeah, that's what he thought. I knew it. And the king is cut off. Oh, tough one for Eric. Now the king just marches, and there's nothing the black can do. No, marches on the other side. Nice one. So international master Ronald Burnett. See, here it shows international master. It just doesn't show on the thingy. Oof. This aggressivity. Oh, nice finish. Nice finish by black, taking advantage of white's king. So what was the move that white should have played here? Does this allow some draw? No. Is there a difference between that and... Yeah, because we have to queen c check. Okay, he can still go queen rook f8 to avoid it. But I think the queen is much better placed there compared to a4. He probably went to a4 to give a check there, but he missed that. Rook f8. He missed rook f8, and now he's got nothing. That is what happened in that game. Tough. What happened in this game? Doesn't have a result. Maybe a draw. Oh my goodness, look at the mate in the middle of the board. Let's catch up with this one. Yeah, this is not how this game is supposed to be played. I think usually black moves the bishop fast so that they can start pushing these pawns forward. At least c5. Maybe not all of them, but at least c5. So here, at least f6. If black doesn't try to attack the center, it's not gonna go very well for him. And now probably this was devastating. Okay. All right, let's trade. Now we want a discovered attack. Okay. White to move. What would you play here with white? Bishop takes g7. Let's go. And bishop g3 mate. Nice. Oh, this was another aggressivity. Let's just look from here. Okay, threatening rook takes e2. I don't like this rook at all. Maybe we can just take. But black took with the queen, which allowed a small tactic. White to move. Can you find the tactic? Nice. I just I just looked at the thing with the open like it moves. It said cowboy attack. What? This is called the cowboy attack. This is a new opening name. I've never heard that name before. Is this for real or are we being trolled by chess.com? I'd love to know. Please let me know. Just learned a new opening. Nice. Building it, and this is like a Kia kind of attack. Putting pressure there. Sorry, cowboy attack with the bishop and the queen. Yes, that's what it stands for. Queen back. Okay, they repeated one time. Black decided no, he did not want to get the draw. But White is building up the attack. Like it's getting. Wait, he didn't double on the. Oh wait, there's bishop c8. My bad. No wonder he didn't double on the. And he has to be here because if he stays there, sometimes he stays on a skewer. Ooh. Ooh. That was not a very wise decision. What should White play in this position? Knight c6. Go away, queen. Let's go. Weaken the king. Now, obviously, you can't take back. This is going to be devastating after 97 and this. Probably. What's the best move here for White? Maybe bishop e7. Not bishop e7. Oh, because that pawn is protected, my bad. Because he played queen g3 and seems to have given up a bit of the advantage. Just a bit. Like rook e7 seems the right way to go. Winning some material. Now bishop e7. White to play. Let's go. Okay. Nice win by White. Wait, we had more games live? They probably put all because they open the invitationals finished. Probably they just had the boards and they just kind of let everyone in the open play on a live DGT board. I'm just gonna look at the finish. If I like the finish, I'll go back a few moves to see. Oh my goodness, this is tough. Why are all these games finishing in mates? Is everyone playing till mate? Oh, this looks cute. Let's go back a few moves and figure out. Oh, it was one of those Najdorfs. No, actually, Richter Rouser, sorry. Let's see. How did this game... Queen a5. I want to mate you. Queen a1, knight a2. Let's go. So you have to free up the spot. Oh, he took with the queen. That can't be good. Where are you going, mister? This ending is really gorgeous. I gotta give it to Edgar. Good job, Edgar. Beating actually a higher rated, much higher rated player, 200 points, if that rate, those ratings are correct. And look at this beautiful idea. Rook b1, go away, queen. No, I'm not going away. Check. If you go here, it's gonna be check queen, so you're gonna go there, right? And now you think you're safe. Yeah. No. Not today. This is another day, but not today. This is sad. Sad. And I was gonna, like, if it wasn't in mating 2, I would go for this, but Bishop, why you had to be there? I could have finished my beautiful line with a checkmate with a castle. Pretend like there's nothing here. Mate. Fine, we're not mating like that. We can mate with the bishop. Fine, you don't like that? Fine, we can mate with the queen. Whatever you want. But that was too gorgeous. Wait, did I miss an even faster? Oh, I think I missed an even faster mate. I think knight here is even faster, right? Yeah, by 1 move. Okay. And this is not mate in, this is mate in 2. In case you want the different mates, you know. Oh, that was really beautiful. Wow, what a game. What a game by Edgar. Really beautiful. Really beautiful finish. I gotta save this tactic. I like it too much. I don't know. If anyone knows Edgar or something, just, you know, let them know that I love this. It was the mate of the day. It made my day. I just feel disappointed that it's not castle mate, but listen. I'll get over myself. Okay, so what? Oh, just Steam. No, Black just dropped a knight. He has no mate. Okay. Do we see any other nice mates? This looks like it was a kind of a unexpected attack. Nice. Oh, this is nice for Black. Look at that. Again, a lower rated player beating a higher rated player. Look at this. F3. This is the kind of break you want to do. Like, it's not Alekhaine's block, but it's kind of a block. Because now there's no piece that can ever reach to cover the second rank. He doesn't care. Take my rook. So beautiful. So beautiful, this finish here. Very nice. F3. I love this. I love this F3 here. By Christopher. Definitely very cute. Okay, so this looks like a relatively decent position. I mean, white is up a pawn, but is it really that? Oh, that allows the pawn to go. And g6 weakens the king way too much. Nice finish. Okay, let's see this decent position. I'm scared for white. Not anymore. I was thinking bishop f6 to try to get rid of the knight. So white attempts some attack and black is getting some counter attack. And if you take back, I guess bishop takes f4. Or not bishop f4. Maybe bishop c5. But now black is up a piece. Nice finish. Okay, this is look the winning before it was. Can't black just play this check? Seems like it's game over. Why would black repeat the position here? He's playing a lower rated player. They repeated and they drew. He's playing a low rated player and there doesn't seem to be a need for that. Just check. There's no threat. Interesting. So how did white win this endgame that should be a draw? Okay, what is the move with which black draws here? Black has 5 options. Oops. Oopsie, definitely not that one. Now you guys know which one not to play. That's what happened in the game. This is the drawing move. This is the only drawing move. Obviously, if you go here, you're not in the box of this pawn, so the pawn just promotes. If you go here, you're not in the box of this pawn, so he just takes, and then that pawn just promotes. If you take the pawn, you're not in the box of this pawn, so that pawn just promotes. And if you take with the pawn, is what happened in the game, and king c3. These are called mind squares. If you go back, then we take, and then we take, and then we win. And if you think that you have a tempo to play h5, and then that's it. Nope. Wait, how do we win here? We're going to do a triangulation. Here, 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 here. Because you can only stay back and forth on those two or these two. So we can just do a triangulation. Don't play the move. Don't play this move because you go from winning to losing in just 1 second. But that's at least what black should have tried to see if his opponent knows. But looks like black played g5 here after takes. But okay, g5 just loses. So why does this move get the draw? Well, after white takes, we don't take with this pawn because then they have two. It's called the moving box. You can't stop both. You are in the box of both, but as soon as one pushes and you go after it, the other one pushes, and you can't go after both in the same time. So that's why in this position, you're gonna go here, and when they take, you take, and you remain in the box of this one. So you're able to draw this. If he goes here, let's be cautious, because if we go there, here, we're gonna lose, even if we do this. Once again, they do that triangulation thingy. Actually, he didn't even need to do triangulation. What am I doing? He can just push. This is the move we have to play. If he goes here, we do this. It's imperative that we support our own pawn. This should be a draw. I mean, I didn't calculate this through, but this queen game should be a draw. The bar didn't change, so this was a very instructive endgame. This was definitely a very instructive endgame there. I know, Nathan. But what, was there a blunder? Because I see a question mark here. Oh, is the chest come acting out? No, this is relatively tactical here. Okay, very nice. And that concludes our resuming of all of the games from round 6 of the US Open. Very intense tournament. Oh my goodness, I cannot wait to see what the round will bring. So now, like, so round 5 and 6 in the 4-day schedule, like round 5 is in progress now. We don't know yet what happened. I don't think we have the results yet. We don't have results yet. No, but ooh, the pairing is really intense. We have, for round 5, we have Grandmaster Andrew Hong facing Darius Schwartz and Pravin Balakrishnan facing Viktor Medveshin. And yeah, it's intense. And round 5 for round 6, yeah, that was the one that didn't have, they only had one title player, Sam Schmackel. It's gonna be a very exciting round. Guys, I appreciate you all being here. I think I'm gonna sign off for now. Let me remind you that I'll be live for the last 3 games of the US Open, all merged tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, which is local time because the tournament takes place in Madison, Wisconsin. But it's gonna definitely be an exciting round, I believe. So many grandmasters, some of them already facing one another. I can't wait to see what the round will bring, and we have a lot of games to go over. So I will be live for a while. So 8 p.m. tonight, Eastern Time. Please be there. My voice is getting better, so that is a good thing that you can look forward to. I'm looking forward to. Other things to remind you is that if you happen to be on site right now, it's 12 p.m. local time. So around 6 of day 5 and round 5 of day 4 have just start or about to start. So those are going to be interesting, super interesting. Then there is a quad. Well, it's too late to register for that one, but there's a quad that takes place in Geneva room. There is a 1 p.m. meeting Finance, Investments, and LMA Trust. College committee meeting at 2 p.m. And at 3 p.m., you can see round 6 of the 4-day schedule. And then at 3 p.m., also, in case you want, there's a staff general membership meeting. I believe that's open to all. So if you have any questions about USCF memberships, how to register, how to create a USCF ID and so on, I believe that is the meeting you want to go for. 4 p.m., there's going to be the awards reception. As you guys may know, US Chess gives awards every single year for like best player, people who are best city, best team, best coach, people who have supported US Chess, have a big impact for various reasons. So if you want to join those awards and listen to their speech and things like that, it will be at in the atrium at 4 p.m. local time. So it's definitely something you can do until you join me in, well, unless you're playing, at 8 p.m. Now, lastly, tomorrow morning on Saturday at 9 a.m., there's going to be a delegates meeting, and at 12, the National Blitz Championship. So that should be kind of fun. I think around 8 at 7 p.m. local time. I'll be live at 8 tomorrow. And then for the final round at 3 p.m. local time. I'm really looking forward to the merger tonight. Certainly hope you'll be joining me. Signing off for now, but have a wonderful rest of your afternoon, and